Okay, so yesterday I watched the next two episodes of Symphogear GX. I have seen episode 2, I have seen episode 3, so not quite, but ish a quarter of the way through season 3. And while obviously there are 10 more episodes, there is a lot of time for my opinion to change. It can get better, it can get worse, it can stay about the same. But after 3 episodes, this seems like it's on pace to easily be the best season of the show so far. And there's still 2 more seasons after this. So the show can still get better from here. But season 3 feels like, oh, this is the one. This is it. I don't want to say they finally got it right, because I still like season 1. I had a lot of fun with season 2. But it feels like, oh, this is the one. There's a few reasons why I say that. I think, to me, a big reason for it is the antagonists. Again, at least so far. In season 1, it was a few episodes before we knew who the antagonist was. Like, we just had the noise. And the noise, I guess, so we'll start with the noise. The noise are zombies in a zombie apocalypse. There's a lot of them. There are these monsters. They attack in hordes. They seem like they attack on instinct. If they touch you, you die. Like, they have an insta-kill. But, like in a zombie apocalypse story, or I guess, bless you, maybe more like in The Walking Dead, because there's a good chunk of The Walking Dead, like the first season, maybe the first couple seasons, where the zombies are the threat. They are the problem, and it's about how do we avoid them, how do we survive. Then whenever they get to a settlement, it's like, okay, we've cleared out the zombies, we know what to do. We know how not to attract them. We know how to how not to attract them and how to avoid them. How to set up perimeters. Unless we just ignore them and get too complacent, which can happen. They're not a problem. The problem are the other people who also know how to deal with zombies, but don't know how to deal with us. I mean, that's what the noise are. Once you got a Symphogear and you can transform, they're not a problem anymore. Like, maybe every now and then it's like, oh, this one's actually got kind of a cool gimmick, but they're just mobs. It's the Symphogear users and then, like, the other, like, people above them that are the real problem. In season 1, you have Chris. And I like Chris. Chris has a lot of backstory, and there's a lot of interesting focus on her. But does Chris ever feel like a threat? You have one Symphogear user against 2. And it seems like when she fights Tsubasa, they're relatively evenly matched. And then when Beaky undergoes her training, it's like, oh, cool. She can just whip Chris's ass. Like, she's not a threat, even though she's kind of supposed to be. And then you get to Fiend, you're like, okay, here's actually the threat. Here's the main antagonist. Like, there's been some build-up to her. Like, there's a lot of stuff before you get the reveal. Like, okay, Ryuko's kind of sus. She's kind of sus. She's kind of sus. Got it. But we don't really see Fiend doing anything for a lot of the show. So she just kind of seems like she's a person in the shadows that doesn't really have any, like, fighting prowess. And then you get to there and you're like, oh, okay, I guess she is a bit of a threat. But for most of the season, it feels like you're lacking that holy shit, this character or group is a problem. Moving on to season 2 with Fizz? F-I-S? I actually don't know how you pronounce it. I'm just going to say F-I-S. We're like, okay, we got 3 Symphogear users, so it's like 3 on your side, 3 on ours. So in that sense, it's like they are a threat, but it always kind of felt like the sides are evenly matched. And the Symphogear characters almost feel a little bit stronger. And maybe that's just because they have Beaky, and Beaky is so stupidly unga-bunga. But I always felt like they're a problem. But am I super worried that they are going to kick our main characters' asses? Not really. And it's like Dr. Vare, he's not a threat. Because all he does is just summon more noise, which you blink and then the horde of noise is taken care of. Not to say I didn't like the antagonist, part of it was also, I couldn't really understand their motivation. Their motivation, like, by the end of the story, by the end of the season, is like, okay, I now have full context. You genuinely are trying to save the world, because the moon is falling, And you want to do what you can to either stop it, if possible. If not, at least get as many people as you can to safety as possible. Makes sense. The frontier is supposed to be the thing. It's like, all right, once we get enough phonic energy saved up, we can unlock the frontier, which is this Laputa thing underwater. And then we can use that to, like, do some calculation, mumbo jumbo, blah, blah, blah. But we can use that thing's technology to fix the moon. Cool. Got it. But for a lot of the season, I'm not really sure. It's like, are you guys just assholes? Are you genuinely trying to help people? I can't tell. Part of it is because you're allied with Dr. Vare, who is so obviously cartoonishly evil. You do just kind of stop and go, like, am I supposed to be sympathizing with the antagonist? Because they just feel like if you're allying with this guy, you clearly aren't good people. But I mean, I guess there are several times in the season where they are like, why are we allied with him? This guy's awful. It doesn't seem like we're on the same page, but they do stick with him. And, part of it does make sense. So, like, he is actually a doctor. Mom is dying. We need to make sure someone looks after mom. And it's like, you could get someone else. You could get someone a little more sane. Like, maybe I am just nitpicking. But I felt like the antagonists in Season 2, Fizz, were fine. I liked them. But I didn't get that sense of, like, they're a problem. They are a threat. They're just kind of something you gotta deal with. We're only 3 episodes into GX. And, what are they called? The auto-scorers, I think? I'll probably just call them the alchemists. They're a fucking problem. It's like, what is our plan? I am trying to blow up the world. I am literally trying to dissect the planet. Okay. Simple, easy to understand, and we get it very early on in the season. It's like, you are clearly the antagonist. Cool. What's your motivation? Well, years ago, I don't know how much, like, I don't know how old they are, blah, blah. My dad died. Like, he was literally burned at the stake, and I had to watch that shit. So, okay. Sorry, I just got a quick text. I want to take a look at it. It's like, my dad died. He was burned at the fucking stake. So, fuck everybody. Like, what I am doing is my father's legacy. Like, okay. Does this make this character sympathetic? Not especially, because, like, yeah, you were literally trying to blow up the entire world. You were trying to kill everybody. I don't have to sympathize with you, but I can empathize. Like, I understand where you're coming from, though. I am trying to uphold my father's legacy. There's also a line, Carol is the name of the main antagonist, and there's a line, like, when Hibiki asked her, like, why are you doing this? It's like, it was the last, like, I think she said it was the last challenge my father left for me. But essentially, like, I'm doing this for my father. Surely you've got something you inherited from your dad, too. And she's like, no, I don't. Like, I have no relationship with my father. He left me with nothing. I was like, okay. So it seems like this is going to be a major theme throughout this season, is relationships with a father, legacy, and shit. I'm like, oh, this is starting to remind me of Giant Robo, which I watched last year, and it is fantastic. I would highly recommend watching Giant Robo if you haven't. The best way I can describe it without going into any spoilers is it starts off as just a fun, over-the-top Saturday morning cartoon. And by the end, I realized I was watching a really good Shakespearean tragedy. And one of the main themes with both the protagonist and the antagonist are the legacy of your father. This is what that man dedicated his life to, and this is the result, and you have to uphold it. And it's really interesting. At least to me it is. So, giving me Giant Robo vibes is a good sign. It's a really good sign. And on top of that, like I said, the new characters feel genuinely like a threat. Carol is able to just, like, use magic and, like, kind of blow shit up. You're like, okay, that's really unique. There's a fight with Chris and this one girl who's literally just fighting by throwing coins, which I had said in episode 1. I was like, this is some Mistborn shit, and I love it. You also see her take out a fucking helicopter by shooting coins at it. Which, A, that is goofy Symphogear shit, and I love it. Also, that's a fucking problem. You see, like, how agile they are and how their bodies are able to move. And like I said, like they seem very puppet and marionette-like. And then I don't remember if it was in episode 2 or episode 3, it's basically confirmed that, yeah, Carol created all of them. I guess they're, I don't know if they actually called themselves homunculi. I think they are just called autoscores. I don't know if that's like the name of the group, if that's actually the name of like what a homunculi is in this world. But that's essentially, it's like, that's why they all look like weird puppets and dolls. Because they are. Fuck, their designs are so cool. I love it. Also, it explains why they can move like that. Like, while Chris is shooting the one girl, she's dodging by breakdancing. Again, Symphogear shit. But it kind of weirdly makes sense with, like, how she's constructed. We're like, okay. They can do cool shit. They're very agile. They can tank a lot of hits. One of them literally cuts a car in half. Like, I saw her standing on a bridge. I saw the car coming. I was like, please cut the car in half. And she did, and I was so happy. But the thing that makes them a problem is they can summon noise. Which I saw, and I was like, oh, okay. We're doing this again. We're back to the noise. Okay. Like, it's gonna be cool seeing Subs and Chris just blow shit up, but I kind of been here, done that. And Subs and Chris are basically got the same thing. Like, oh, you can do this too? Weird. We thought we took care of this problem in season 2, but okay. We're just gonna fuck shit up. And then their Symphogears start to deteriorate. And this is then revealed, it's like, yeah, these aren't normal noise. These are like homunculi noise. Like, we made these specifically. We made these specifically to counter your fucking gear. So, like, if they... Yeah. It's like... Are taking a second. The way I can best explain it is by using an Ava analogy, because it made me think of it. The way it sounds like is a Symphogear has an AT field that protects it from the noise. These noise, I believe they're called like Ars noise or Arca noise, I don't remember which, are specifically created to breach that AT field. So it doesn't mean just like, okay, if this one touches you, you instantly die, like with a regular noise, but your Symphogear cannot last super long against it. Excuse me, and as a result, not only do Chris and Subs lose, but their gear is, like, basically fucking destroyed. Their pendants get cracked. They are able to escape, yes, but when they do, and the members of Song look at it, they're like, okay, good news and bad news. The good news, your relics aren't completely destroyed. The bad news, we have no fucking clue how to still utilize your Symphogear inside this. You are out of commission now. I don't know how to fix it. It can be. I don't fucking know how. We're like, okay. So in just like 3 episodes, 2 of the main characters are now sidelined indefinitely. That's a big fucking problem. Holy shit. These new characters are actual threats. You also get to see like some cool other shit, like where this one girl kisses a dude on the lips, and then like the color and life from him slowly drains, and then he just falls to the ground as this old man, and I'm pretty fucking sure he's dead. That's cool. That's bad, but that's cool. Like, holy crap. Is there anything else I really want to say about the antagonist? I don't think so. It really just kind of comes down to, I feel like I understand that, like, we have an antagonist early established, easy to understand motivation, and they come across as genuine threats. Good shit. What else? I really like, at least so far, what they're doing with Beaky. In season 1, it was, I want to fight, Okay, in season 1, it was someone saved me, and now I have that power, so I want to pay it forward. I also want to be able to help people. I want to save people. And there's a point, I don't remember which episode it was, where she's like, okay, what is my reason for fighting? My best fucking friend lives in this city, and I want to protect it. And her conflict was, I am trying to save my best friend, but because of government restrictions, I can't tell her about what I do. So I keep having to abandon her, I keep leaving her high and dry, and it is affecting my personal life, and it is affecting my friendship with the person I care about most. It's kind of like some Peter Parker shit. Like, I want to tell you everything, but I can't. And the fact that I'm actively not doing it and keeping secrets from you, and you're not stupid, you know I'm keeping secrets from you, is affecting our relationship. I think that's interesting. I think it's good. Season 2 was Tsukuyomi called her a hypocrite in a fight, and then she went, oh, maybe I am. And I never really got it. Like I said, by the end of season 2, I was like, I understand where Suku is coming from. From her mind, it is, we are actively trying to save the world from the moon here, and what you guys are doing is interfering with us. How the fuck can you talk about, I want to help people, I want to save people, when you're not doing that? You are being a hypocrite. That's how I understand it. So I'm like, okay, your perspective of it makes sense now. I don't really get Biki's. I think the best I can surmise is she's thinking to herself, my thing is I want to help people, I want to protect people. But every time I fight this group, I am actively trying to hurt the person I am fighting. So does that make me a hypocrite if I fight to protect, but I can't do that without causing pain? I guess that's kind of what they're going for. And if so, I think that's pretty interesting and does make sense by the end of the season. Quick pin. But I don't know if it was that well explained that that's what they're going for. Take pin out. So, by the end of the season, when Biki is unable to use her gear, even though she can't fight, she still wants to help. And she genuinely does. You know, they're able to get Suku on the squad by talking to her. Because that's always been her thing. When Biki first met Chris and Chris was transformed, she's like, I don't want to fight you. Can we just talk and figure shit out? A few times when fighting Chris, I think even fighting Fiend, I don't want to do this. I'd rather just talk. It took a while, and it wasn't just Biki, but they got through to Chris. Fiend still hook-shotted the moon and tried to bring it down to the planet. Fuck, season 1 still has some really fun, goofy shit. But Biki was able to talk Fiend down eventually. It took a lot. It took kicking her ass, too. Again, she comes from the Nanoha school of friendship and solving problems. Excuse me. But she was able to do it. In season 2, Suku joins the party, not because they beat her, but essentially they were able to talk to her. And she was also able to see, okay, the people I'm with are not doing what I think they should be doing. I'm having doubts. And then these guys they try to talk to me. They've actively saved me. They've taken me prisoner, but they're not, like, torturing me. They actively are asking me for help. Maybe I should. Akka and Suku, they still fight each other, but Suku is still kind of able to talk her down. Biki and Maria, able to talk her down. Now, she also just bare hand grabs gun gear and then just takes it. But they didn't need to fight. So for me, Biki meeting Carol, her brain is going, I fight to protect people, which I just did, saving people from the fire, but I don't fight to hurt people. I will defend myself, I will defend my friends, but I don't want to raise my fist against another person. I never have. Like, I've done it, but I've never wanted to do it. Now, and it's like, and because of everything that happened in season 1 and season 2, excuse me, I know that I can solve problems without punching people. I can talk to people. I can connect with them. I can empathize with them. It has a proven track record. So when she says, I don't want to fight you and I don't want to transform to do it, it doesn't to me just come across as her being a coward. It doesn't come across as just simply being naive. It's like, no. There's a track record of this happening. It makes sense that she would act like this. Now, I also feel like there's a point where Biki would say, okay, this isn't working. I need to be able to fight. I need to take the fight to them, or I need to defend myself, or I need to defend my people. Which is why the ending of episode 3 is really interesting. So she's walking with her girls. They find a whole bunch of people on the ground looking like old dead people. The Kiss, I Take Your Soul girl is there, and she's like, hey, I'm gonna fuck with you. That is literally why I'm here. So go, summons a bunch of the super noise, like, okay, let's go. What do you got? And Biki's like, I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this. What? To quote Holes, that's too damn bad. Like, we're doing this. And Biki's like, all right, I'm gonna do it. My song isn't working. Like, I don't, feel it. I can't transform, which means I can't fight. Because I feel like I was with it until then. So like, okay, yeah, she's never wanted to hurt people. That's been her whole thing, and she now knows that I can talk to people without just fighting. But she should also be able to do it to, protect her friends. So that's where I'm a little like, okay, this was really, really working. It still is. We'll see how it goes. But I can see a potential weakness here. But I do really like what they're doing with Beaky, at least so far. We'll see how it sticks. Chris and Subs, I really don't know what they're going to be doing throughout the season. Like, is there a point where they get their shit back? I would only assume so. Like, are they only going to be sidelined for, like, a couple episodes? Or is like, no. They're basically out of commission for all of Season 3. But Akka and Suko were picking up the pace, which we got the Mr. Garrison blade wheel again, and that made me happy. I know I have, like, barely looked at my notes. I will in a second just to see what other shit I missed. But overall, like, I've had a really good impression. But here's the thing. I know I just said a lot about what they're trying to do with the villains and what they're trying to do with the main character. And I'm interested. I think it's good shit. But none of it matters. And the reason that none of it matters, and if you've watched Symphogear GX and you've watched episode 3 specifically, you know why it doesn't matter. You might have been waiting for me to talk about something very specific, if you have seen it. But if not, let me provide you with some context. So I'm sitting at our dinner table, which is just like the table where I do like all my shit. It's where I work, it's where I write, it's also where I eat, generally where I watch Symphogear. But it's also where other people eat too. My roommate and his mom are sitting, having a nice dinner, talking about politics. They're talking about China. They're talking about, information. They're talking about wokeness and, what they think of it. They're having like this generally pretty interesting debate. And I'm just sitting here watching Symphogear. And I'm watching this scene where everyone is in Song HQ talking about what the fuck just happened. And like, okay, alchemists exist. That sounds like a problem. The noise they made is a real fucking problem. Chris and Subs, you guys are kind of fucked right now. Beaky, you're really the only hope we have. We've got Akka and Suku, but because they don't have the linkers, like, they can fight, they can do stuff, but they're not as reliable, because, like, the strain on their bodies is a lot more intense, and we'd really rather not have another Kanade situation. You are our only hope. Then it immediately cuts to the 3 girls, whose names I don't know. I think one of them's name is like Yumi, but Beaky and Miku's just regular human friends who, was at the end of season 1 or season 2? I think, yeah, it was at the end of season 1, found out about all the song shit, and they're like, oh, one of our really good friends is a magical girl. Fucking bet. Cuts to the 3 of them singing a song about beef stroganoff and how you make beef stroganoff. And throughout the song, you just have Miku and Beaky in like their cooking class making beef stroganoff. And it's so out of nowhere. It has zero context. The only bit of it's not even like, oh yeah, this makes sense in context. No. But the fact that, like, it has no context, in context makes it funnier. Like, if I just showed it to somebody, be like, yeah, there's, like, no context for this, it just kind of happens, I think it would still be funny. But it's like watching this scene where it's like, oh, like, some really important shit is being discussed, and the characters are realizing how fucked they are. And then this happens. It's not quite the whiplash of Bambi, like how he had, like, his mom dies, and then 2 seconds later, you've got, like, tra-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la, as it, like, goes to spring, and they're talking about being Twitter painted and shit. Like, that is fucking peak whiplash. This not quite there, but there's some strong fucking whiplash, and it's so funny. I was like, okay, like, I wasn't, like, super laughing out loud. It was like, they're having important conversation. I don't want to interrupt it with what I'm doing. I'm just kind of going... But inside, I am cackling like my stomach is fucking doing gymnastics, laughing at what the fuck I am witnessing. It is so strange, even for Symphogear. I'm like, okay, the first 6 minutes of season 3 were peak Symphogear. The villains so far, I think, are the best we've gotten so far. The shit that they're doing with the main character seems like there's a lot of potential for interesting shit. This might have just been peak, though. Like, it's so fucking funny. I loved it. Watch Symphogear. This shit has to be experienced. Other shit to say, I think I said this in season 1 because we got a transformation sequence. Like, we're getting more transformation sequences. They just look a lot better. The new opening is really good. It might be my favorite opening so far. The new ending is also pretty good. It's starting to grow on me a bit more after watching a couple episodes. I remember there was a conversation between Biki and Miku. I don't remember exactly what was said, but Miku just sounded like a wife. Just like the shit she was saying, like, all right, go home. I will take care of everything. I just want to make sure you got a good... I don't remember exactly what it was. It's like, these two are going to get married at the end of the show. If they don't, there's a fucking problem. We did get a sighting of Tsubasa's giant sword. I think the way it happened was like she was sword fighting the one girl. Tsubasa's sword went flying into the air, and then it turned giant and just slammed down, which was really cool to watch. We also got the handstand spin. Yeah, again, my favorite attack. My favorite recurring attack. That's right, there was this fucking scene where Chris is fighting the Mistborn girl, and then all of a sudden it was like a plane or I don't know what it was. It was some kind of thing just like fucking falls on her, and then you see later it looks like this giant stand is just like holding planes or some shit. I don't know what the fuck that was, but I guess it'll probably come back. Let's see. I talked about all that shit. I basically talked about all of that shit. The beef stroganoff song. That was so fucking weird. Oh, I do remember there's this one scene when all the alchemists, all the auto scorers are together. The music being played in the background was really good. Like I know I always talk about like the OST, the background shit's really good. But I remember it was like, this is a really creepy song. It's like kind of a gothic song. I liked that a lot. If that's a recurring song, I'm going to be really happy. There's another alchemist that looks like identical to Carol. It looks like she is another homunculi. They specifically point out that she doesn't have a gender, like she doesn't have any parts, which leads to a little scene with Biki and her friends like talking about that. It was kind of weird. I love her cloak. I wish she was like wearing stuff under it because it's just kind of weird. Like this looks like a 6-year-old who's barely wearing anything. But when she's just wearing the cloak, like the cloak looks really cool. What was her name? I think it was Elf9? Because I didn't really catch the other names. Like, I know they said one or two of them. The ones I caught were Carol, the main antagonist, and Elf9, which is a homunculi clone. Yeah, I'd say that's about it. So overall, very clearly, I've enjoyed these first 3 episodes a lot. I'm very looking forward to seeing where this is going. I haven't watched any new episodes today. Hopefully I'll get another 1 or 2 in later, but that's it for now, and I'll see you the next episode, which will probably be the next couple episodes. Oh, fuck, I was supposed to watch Pokemon Horizons too. I'll probably watch that later today with some figure episodes, and I'll probably talk about them tomorrow.